Every time NIKKE announces another collab, there's one thought that always goes through my head. Why? Another event where we are taking attention away from underutilized and forgotten NIKKEs. And this really wouldn't be a big deal. I mean, I don't even hate collabs. In fact, some of them were even pretty good, or had cool ideas. I just hate that it feels like NIKKE sacrifices so much to make them happen. And the execution almost always leaves me unsatisfied. We're shafting NIKKEs that could use more attention for mediocre stories, lukewarm fan service, and all for the event to disappear in a month anyways. Let me just preface this by saying I'm not the target audience for most of the collabs. I already play NIKKE, and I never really cared for most of the other IPs that we have gotten collabs for. It's all my own personal taste. But that's why I'm feeling unsatiated when NIKKE gets a collab event. Because to me, it feels like we're using a lot of resources and redirecting to these collaborations rather than focusing on in-universe characters that get no love. You have characters like Eula and Arya that have no motion in their ocean right now, in terms of costumes, favorite items, alts. I will say that Arya did have some narrative relevance recently with the idol subplot, but that's just not good enough, let's be honest. They just get nothing, barely even crumbs. And then we're spending a whole month on an event for these random characters that aren't really going to matter in NIKKE ever again, unless they get a rerun or continuation. The stories during the collabs are normally nothing burgers. The character interactions kinda have to hard carry them. Now I can't speak on the current Persona collab, because I'm not reading that until Story 2 comes out, just because I've never played a Persona game, so I'm not heavily invested right now. But let's be honest, nothing ever happens. Like in the Lycoris Recoil collab, we all knew what was going on down there. With the orphanage being shady, I will say they did get a good chuckle out of me when they rushed the kids. That was unexpected and hilarious. It was a little bit of a fun read, and it was enjoyable for me, but that's kind of all there was to it. Or the Resident Evil collab. I can just barely remember anything other than the cult, and I vaguely recall zombie dogs. It wasn't very memorable, but it wasn't bad, just mediocre. And that's part of my issue with a lot of these collab stories. They are already existing IPs, and their characters have their own stories, relationships, and goals. Shift Up does not have complete creative control. They have to introduce them, keep their personalities in line with their own universe, and have them come into NIKKE to do something interesting. Each event, they also have to bring up how the universes collide, which they explain with the D-Waves, and Gatekeeper's insane powers, which is always going to be an underlying plot point in the event, because the characters have to figure out how they got here and how they get home. It's really hard to write a meaningful and entertaining story when you have all these restraints created from not being a NIKKE or Shift Up original character in event. I genuinely laugh every time we get a collab, because I just know that the cake is going to be nerfed. And the Persona collab did not fail to deliver. Chibi Chads stay winning, I guess. I don't know. I think the only time we got goonerific fan service was Stellar Blade and Nier. And let's be honest, Stellar Blade doesn't count since it's a Shift Up IP. The lack of fan service in these collabs really plays into that failure of reaching their true potential, if you ask me. Since NIKKE is such a fan service orientated game. Now I'm not saying everybody needs to be kicked up, but the gameplay is kind of all about the jiggle. But what they're giving us does not even hit a fraction of what a NIKKE or even Stellar Blade character can deliver. And for me, this game is like a good burger. Sure, you can take the bread off and eat it with a lettuce wrap or poke at it with a fork, but the buns really complete the experience for me. And it's really disappointing every time, just because something in the back end is stopping the collabs from fully embracing that identity that makes NIKKE so great. Unfortunately, we also have to go into every collab knowing that the month it's running is probably the only time these characters will ever be pullable, unless they have a rerun like Nier, or a whole new collab like Evangelion did. So, if you like the IP and join the game later, you're out of luck. Or if you're a collector, well that sucks, man. This isn't really NIKKE's own fault. It's more due to licensing and copyright laws than anything, but it definitely plays into FOMO, and my own dislike for it. It really makes these events feel even less consequential in the grand scheme of things. I will say that collabs are definitely a net positive on the game as a whole, because you're introducing new people to the game. Maybe they'll join because they like Persona or Evangelion, and the collab was their first interaction with NIKKE, or what finally pushed them to start. You also can't forget that Shift Up is going to make a lot of money off these events, which will further extend NIKKE's lifetime and ensure that they can deliver the story we're all there for. I'll also give it to Shift Up that the Stellar Blade collab was amazing. I really felt for that old guy. And them showing us why the Ark tried so hard to pretend like nobody was alive out in the surface. It was phenomenal. And the fan service was goated. It really showed what the NIKKE team could do when they were given all of the creative liberties they needed to really construct a nice full course meal. The Nier event was also good, which really would have been a national tragedy if they fumbled the fan service. They also always put in a lot of work into the UI in these collabs. You can tell a lot of love, care, and thought goes into making them as stylized as possible with whatever IP that's in the collab. I think they really do a good job. Same with the minigames. They're usually really fun, and they seem to fit the theme every time. Also, if I had any self-restraint, collabs would be an amazing time to save up some currency. But unfortunately, I have an urge to fill my NIKKE decks, so I always pull even when I shouldn't. I might skip this event though, because, well, that NIKKE dex is never being completed, unfortunately, and Big AC has gotta save for the next Annie. Honestly, I don't think the NIKKE collabs are bad. It just feels like they're almost never able to reach their full potential. But you know what? It's fine. I already found and enjoy NIKKE. If other people enjoy these IPs and they find out about NIKKE from them, that's awesome. I know they're gonna keep making these collabs, and they'll eventually get around to the NIKKEs who need some lovin'. But that's all I gotta say about collabs and NIKKE today, bros. Let me know what you all thought. Arm Candle clocking out. Peace out, squad.